Hi guys, Josh from Smith Boys Racing. Just another episode. It's a fabrication on the junior little YZF 250 junior sidecar we're building. So we've been doing some arts and craft lately. So been sitting around making the aluminium fuel tank, gravity feed fuel tank for the bike. So this was a bit of a one I wasn't really looking forward to, but it had to be done. So I'll just run you through my process. Once again, starting with some arts and crafts, some scissors, some tape, just an old box. So what I've done first, I want the fuel tank to live here. So I just laid the cardboard underneath my top tubes where it's going to live, being gravity feed, no fuel pumps. I don't even want to run a battery. So just laid it here, traced out the frame, and then shrunk the design by about 40 millimeters. This is my bottom one. I've just started off with the centre line, traced a 125 millimeter 1mm cutting disc just for the radius. Then just sit here and just pretty much just cut it out to what I want. What I wanted the fuel tank to do, you'll see that cut. I wanted it to sit straight on the top, but actually angle down towards the tap at the back here, which you'll see on this one here. I've used a standard YZF 250 fuel tap and just put a bit of 6mm plate, tap that M6. So that came out pretty well. So that was, once I sort of had the shape and the design and everything I liked, that became my template. Then I just untaped it, laid it out like a net drawing. These two here I folded up in one piece in the fan brake. I'm using 3mm aluminium sheet. I purchased, I think it was 1200 by a metre. I got a bit robbed on that. It was about $150 for the sheet, whereas a 1200 by 24 was 190. So I felt a bit robbed, given that I got half the sheet for about 2/3 of the price. Anyhow, I've got enough to do some more stuff now. One tip here I would tell you, I cut out weird shapes. I always cut a square because it's a guillotine cut, perfectly square piece, nearly perfect. You cut yourself out a nice square. Next time you've got square lines to work off if you just need a little piece rather than having awkward angles and stuff in your sheet. I just cut that out with the angle grinder, just a buffer, just to clean it up. It smells like a wet fart when you're doing it, but it is what it is. Once I sort of got to that stage, as I said, bent these two up, the bottom piece in one, cut these strips out, and then use these as templates. These ones here, I got a bit of a 2-inch chromoly just in the vise and just cold rolled, work the sides here to get that radius. It looks like a little cat coffin, that's what I've been calling it, a little cat coffin. There, once I got to that point, laid it all out, tacked it all up. I worked on the bottom first, tacked it all up, then I spun it upside down. Now given these shapes, given that it is actually tapered and does sit crooked to fall towards the fuel tap, I then laid it nice and flat without the fuel cap or any tags on it. Once again got my favourite tool, the vernier height gauge. Wherever I had gaps in the workpiece, I just shrunk it up to that and just traced with the vernier height gauge, traced the whole aluminium. Once I had all my scribe line to work to, I could trim all of this around at the top and cut the new piece. Just sat this on the upside down on the sheet, literally traced it out. Once I got that, I shrunk it down 1.5 millimeters just to get that little 90. I've spoken about this before if you follow the channel. Get a little 90 in there so that when you do your weld, you just roll your corner. It's an outside corner weld. So my welder does have limitations. I was using a size 6 standard cup and diffuser. I didn't run the gas lens. It was running 50 Hertz, about the 30% positive electrode, so 30-70 balance. Came up pretty nice and clean. That hasn't really been touched. What I use when I'm welding, stainless steel brush. I got this little stainless steel scarab pad. I just find that's really good. I'm actually going to clean up. Just, I don't know how well it'll pick up. You'll just see that tiny little bit of strip along the side there. I'll just clean that off now with this really light. It's actually a dishwashing stainless steel scarab pad, and just polish the weld. And it'll come up really nice. I'll just get off that argon shielding, so it'll pretty much polish up. I might rub it back with some, maybe some 1000 wet and dry. You'll see the strip around where I clean up all the weld. I pretty much just sand that first with some 120. Run over it with the brush. Acetone's your best friend with aluminium. I used blue cloth. This was all cleaning up aluminium. You wouldn't believe how dirty it is. So blue cloth, just on the finger, just dip it in, and then just sit there and just wipe until you don't get any residue, any more black stuff off. I would suggest using a light or a white rag or a light cloth, so you can actually see that dirty stuff. You can actually see it when it's clean. If you used a dark one, you wouldn't see it. Once I got to that point, welded it all out, welded the top on, put the fuel cap in. That was a $20 eBay job. It's T6 aluminium. Did get a little bit of dirty stuff here, which I was pretty upset about, but the rest of it turned out okay. I just need to put the breather in the cap now. I've got the standard breather vent line with the check valve in it, so I'll be running that. Then I just keep heaps of scrap stuff around, so I had some 6mm aluminium, nice and chunky, so I've used that, put some tags on it, so that actually mounts in between the top tubes now. Made some chromoly, 16mm chromoly pieces. I just welded onto the frame, tapped M8 in it, and then just a bit of 3mm normalised chromoly plate up here. So once it's all said and done, fits in really nice. Taps in there, some M6 with some nylox up the front here. And clearance is clearance, but there's my fuel tap behind my pod filter. All came up quite well. So it's still higher than the carburetor intake on the fuel line. So it still will be gravity fed. It still does lean towards that tank. So even if I do lay the bike for the young fella, even if I put 3 degrees lay on it, the fuel will still run towards the fuel tap. So the last thing I had to do, once I welded it all out, I'll do a little bit of cleaning up. Got some rubber, oversized washers, M6, but I drilled it out to 8.5, so I had a little bit of clearance. Cracked out the old weld punch kit that I bought, $50 off eBay. Quite a good little set, good for doing mud guards and various little rubber grommets and washers. And I used a bit of Loctite 4A6 glue. I punched that out 2mm. So if it was an M8, I did 10mm hole, so it didn't bind up. I actually glued the washer onto that with a bit of Loctite 4A6 and a little disc after I punched it out. Punched the 8mm hole for the 6 and the 10 for the 8. And then actually glued them on here as well so I don't lose them. So there's my little rubber. And these ones will sit at the back. These will sit on the little M16 ones, so they're a 25mm washer. And that way they just won't come off, they're all just stuck. It's still got a little bit of cushion when I pull it down. I won't pull it down too tight, but all said and done, pretty happy with the little coffin. Works pretty well. Was a bit annoying going between the aluminium setup, tacking it all up, clamping it all up, going back to the gas lens setup, change all the welder out, just do a weld, tack the pieces on, then go set up aluminium again, but it is what it is, had to be done. So all welded onto the bike now. Chuck some nice stainless steel button heads in the back here. bit of Loctite and a spring wash will retain those, they'll never come out. Chuck a couple of those in. Chuck some M6s up the front. Some Nylox on them. And 4 mounting points, so it's not going to go anywhere. I don't know how much fuel it will hold. I'm thinking about 4 litres. Being an odd shape, I can't really calculate the volume. I'll probably just fill it when I clean it. After I drill the fuel cap, I'll flush it all out, and I'll just put it into just a 4 litre container. And I'm thinking it'll hold about 4 litres, which I don't think we'll even have to top it up, feeding a little 250. But yeah, that was a fun little project. Had its moments, but it's all said and done now. Pretty happy with it. Happy with how it turned up. Maybe a little bit of cleaning. As you can see, the titanium header pipe's all done. I'm just waiting on a clamp to finish the back of it. That's a standard YZF 250 muffler with GS Team Thompson Racing. Got some header bends, titanium header bends, purge welded. Needed a bigger cut, I know. So I've got a little bit of colour in it, but doesn't matter. So the next project, radiator. I was going to use the standard YZF radiator. After some consideration, bolting the two together was going to be harder and more time than it was worth. So forked out eBay, $75. Was $85, they gave me 10% off or something. Got it for $75. It's a little, it's actually out of a quad, YZF 450 quad, ATV. And now it's just mounting the radiator. Had an old radiator laying around out of a KX 250 out of my dirt bike. That was actually a bit crushed. I replaced it, so I cut some tags off. Got all the rubber mounting hardware. That's another reason I went for it. It's got 16mm holes in the brackets, so I can still run the rubber hardware. If I want to run a fan later, I can put the fan on it. But yeah, that's the next project. That's sort of where we're at. Mounting the radiator. Nice little radiator, $75 score. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Getting there slowly. Feels like an eternity. Feels like 3 years, but it's probably only been a few months. 3 or 4 months maybe. And we're getting there. Probably close to getting it off the table. But yeah. Once again, hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, follow us if you want to see some more stuff. Alright, guys, you just have a good night, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.